Welcome mates, I'm Bloodthirsty Lord, but you can call me Lordy and tell me back on Paragon once again, and today I'm going to showcase you my Fey build that is currently built at the moment due to the fact that we just built it not long ago, and I tested it and it worked out pretty well. So I want to show you guys what my build is, because I've always been trying to relate to this build in some type of way with the starter decks and intermediate decks, but it doesn't work out too well. Now I've made my own build with the cards that I have. I obviously want more cards in the future to make this build to its perfection, and I think sometimes with this actual build, I don't know about the full potential of this build. I don't think you can reach 60 card points, or sometimes you reach high, so you miss out on some upgrades, but I'm not 100% sure. If I do, I might change that in the future to make it more perfected, but right now this is pretty much a idea of what you guys should build when you're playing as the Fey in the battlefield of Agora, due to the fact this will make you excel in team fights, in laning, in every type of scenario within the map of Agora. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So we're going to go to our profiles, we're going to go to our decks, and then we can see our deck, the Fey number 1. That's how you know I've done this really quickly without actually renaming it. So we're going to click into it, and we've got this type of build going right now. So the prime card is obviously the energy damage card for the basic prime card. And now let's move on to the early game items that you should take when you start on the map of Agora. And these are some of the ones we have right now. 2 cast tokens, Chronotonic, halves the key, Mana Pot, and Scout Ward. Obviously, Chronotonic does give you health regen plus 7.5 cooldown reduction for 15 seconds with 2 charges once you've activated it, so it's a pretty good item. And the cast tokens are pretty much early game damage, which are pretty good. And we have 2 cards. That pretty much means you'll have 13 energy damage in total by these 2 cards, which will make you a threat with the early game stages of Paragon, followed up by the mid game and late game stages as well, due to the fact that you're going to keep getting bonus energy damage and your kit is just going to get huge, especially if you get some early game kills because of this item. And Chronotonic works well with cast tokens, because if you want to go full aggressive at one point, you can, and you'll be able to abuse them and get that kill. But if you do it by accident and then you don't use it to its full potential, and you don't get a kill out of that trade, majority of the time you'll end up not winning at all, and that will be a great sacrifice, because due to the fact that you have to actually recall, get some mana back, and come back. That is the one risk that you have with this item. So it's a high risk, high reward item, little scenario. So I like that. Then you got half skill, which everyone knows. You put a key into a well, and the half starts arising, and then you can get CXP out of that, CP out of that later on. Then you got Mana Pot, which is some type of mana regen item, which lasts for 15 seconds with 2 charges, and Scout Ward, obviously for vision. You can have 2 wards, and you can only have 1 ward with this item, sorry, and then it lasts for 3 minutes, and you get to see all around that area, so that's pretty good. As some items, you can choose which items you want. There's some particular ways which I can discuss very soon, but these ones you can use them depending on the scenario of the actual match. Say if your team members didn't have a half ski or Scout Ward, you could be that possible person that takes one of them or even 2 of them within your kit in the early game to help the team out. And now let's move on to the better section, and that is equipment. We're going to talk about equipment right now. The first item, or the items we have here, just in random order, they haven't put them in any type of order. So the first one is Lord's Ward, which is obviously a warding item which gives you mana, health, and cooldown reduction. And obviously we put more cooldown reduction on that as upgrades. We've got a vast chrono, and then got 2 chronos, which will give us a large amount of cooldown reduction, so that's perfect. Let's move on to the next item, that is called Magnet Lens, which does have energy penetration and also does give you mana regen, and once you fully upgrade this, you get energy damage, so that is good. And then we have some upgrades on this item, which are Shock, Major Shock, and Minor Shock. And this is more of an optional card, which will go more in the description in the future of this video. And the next item is this Scepter, which is kind of interesting because I like pulling off some crazy damage, which gives you obviously energy damage and crit chance, and we got some upgrades on that, which are a major wound, major cast, and a cast upgrade, so that is a pretty good item. Let's move on to the next one, and that is Sage's Key, which gives you health and also energy damage, and once you fully upgrade that, you get more energy damage. Then you got 1 health upgrade on that, and then 2 cast upgrades on the actual item, so that's pretty cool. And one of our main items that we'll go into more in the future of this video is called Snakevine Mesh, which obviously gives us some energy armor and also energy damage. Then we got 2 barrier upgrades on that and a major cast, followed up by Staff of Adamant, which also gives us major cast 3 times on that, so we're doing crap load of damage with that actual item. Then let's move on to the next one, that is called Venom Shell, and this is more of an interesting item due to the fact it's defensive as well. It gives you physical armor plus also energy damage, and then we got two card upgrades followed up by major cast. Then the last item is called Elder Mage Amulet, which also has great health, and a cast upgrade on that, just for more of situational picks within the game. So that pretty much is a slight overview of what we have within this deck. So if you want to pretty much replicate it to this exact perfection, yes you can. Since we did do an overview of it and go through nearly every card, just copy that and put it as your deck for this Hero the Fey. and most likely you will end up winning a lot of matches with this deck. But let's go into the order of what items you should build with this actual deck. First, we're starting off with a standard or offensive type of actual start, which will be 2 cast tokens and a chronotonic, or 2 cast tokens and a mana pot. Those are the best options you can have. If not, then most likely you're going to end up taking 1 cast token, Hamster Key, and a mana pot, or 1 cast token, Scout Wood, and a mana pot. It's your choice, whatever you want, due to the fact that if you do go with my option, which is high risk, high reward, which will be 2 cast tokens and a chronotonic, you do lack sustain with your mana. So if you do waste it all, you must recall due to the fact that if you stay in that lane with no mana and you get picked on, you will end up dying quite easily, and giving the enemy team a couple of kills on you will lead to them having such a great lead in the mid-game stages of the game. I'm going to talk about main items with this actual build and also optional items that you can build in this as well. So you do have some type of a slight choice within this build, and also you're able to counter build because of this as well. And guys, when you have enough points to actually get a card with upgrades, you have many choices to go with. Majority of the time I like to go with energy damage early game, so I'm able to abuse any team and get some kills off that, so I get a slight advantage. But there's also other type of items you can build in the main item section. We're going to just do this in a random order. You can do whatever you want. And I'll also describe what items you should pick in types of scenarios. So let's move on to it. The first item I'm going to talk about is Snakevine Mesh, which obviously gives you energy armor and also energy damage, which is a good item to counter enemies that do provide or that are fed, and they do quite a lot of energy damage. You would usually build this item as quick as possible, followed by another item which also has defensive stacks, and that is Venom Shell, which will give you physical armor and energy damage, which is also good as well, due to the fact that you pretty much try and slow down the enemy team from doing any slight damage towards you. Because if you got these 2 tank items, you'll end up being in good predicament during the stages of the game, because they won't be able to kill you as quick as possible. Then you can also build another item which is called Staff of Adamant, which obviously gives you crazy amounts of energy damage in this actual build that we got here, and also a bit of health, not too crazy, but the energy damage is the most interesting section of this actual item, and that's what we try to do there, so we can excel within the early game to pretty much, or early game to mid game, to destroy the enemies as quick as possible with this actual card. Followed up by another item which is Lord's Ward, which gives you some type of cooldown reduction. You can also have quite a bit of it due to the fact that you have all these upgrades which provide cooldown reduction. It's a good item if you want it, but if you still have Chronotonic on you, you don't really need it until you get rid of Chronotonic, in my opinion. But let's move on to the optional items within this actual build. One of them is called the Scepter, which will obviously help you during the game to pretty much land some critical shots on the enemy team, which will make you do more of energy damage output within the actual game. So that is pretty good as an item to pretty much excel in team fights, so that's nice. Then you have another item which is Elder Mage Amulet, which is obviously the tank item that you can have within this actual build, or you can have some energy damage with that, with health upgrades, so it's pretty good overall, followed up by another 2 items that you could get as another optional choice. So those 2 items I just talked about are the choice you can have from one or the other, and the next choice will be for the other 2 items will be Magna Lens or Sage's Key. Magna Lens obviously gives you quite a lot of energy penetration, which is obviously good if the enemy team is building a lot of energy armor, so this item will shine in those scenarios, followed up by another item that you could choose as well, which is Sage's Key, which gives you some health, some energy damage, and you will able to use that, which will help you place a point into a well, so your hamsters can rise and you can get some CXP and CP out of that actual well, or hamster. But now we're going to talk about my order of things I like to build on this character. Maybe not the full build, but to the extent I got in my last game, which was pretty much taking Chronotonic and 2 cast tokens, and then later on taking Staff of Adamant, followed up by Venom Shell, then followed up by Snakevine Mesh, which will give me some more defensive staff. And so pretty much at this very moment, I do have a lot of energy armor, physical armor, and energy damage, so it's pretty good overall. And then pretty much you can build anything you want from there, in my opinion, depending on the scenario in the actual game, because I like to counter build in a way to pretty much get myself a massive lead. That's how I play the game, and it works out pretty well for me all the time. So mates, this is my build of the Fey within this patch, when the release of the actual character. So I try to build it as much as possible. There's some cards I still want within this deck, but I don't have at this current moment. I still need to lock some cards, but overall this deck will work out 100% better than majority of decks that you would see, or compared to the starter deck or intermediate deck that you get on each hero once you actually play your first game without creating a deck. This deck will work out quite a lot in my opinion, which will lead to some beast plays actually occurring, and that's obviously something you want when you play this character. So mates, if you enjoyed this video, show your support, smash that like button. Let's try to get 50 likes on this video, and if you guys want to see more Paragon Gaming content on my channel, all you have to do is share this with your friends and hit the subscribe button to become a mate today. And that is all for this video. Time to go, but don't you worry, we're back very soon. Hey Dads boys, he's ain't seen nothing yet. Come on guys, cut me some slack. This is my first time doing a build video.
And that it feels right.